basically in our TA, we collect a huge number of data. And the data comes from various things, whether it's from the NOL card, which is used for the ticketing. We get around 1.5 and more transactions per day. These transactions is the patterns that will show how people are using the public transport, where people are using public transport, and for the people who have the blue NOL card, which is a personalized NOL card, you will know how many students are using the NOL card and so on, and what sort of people are using is they are female, male, so segmentation, all of that is being looked at. Plus, of course, we have Salik. Many here in Dubai don't like Salik because they have to pay for it. Okay. But it's a tool that has improved the traffic. It's the tool that has also reduced the fatality rate on the roads in a big way in Dubai, and we're very happy to see that. This is one of the tools that helped us organize the traffic in the city. With Salik, there's over 1.7 million registered customers. These customers could have from one car to a fleet of thousands of cars under the same account. So that shows you the number of people that use this traffic. So we get the information that we collect from these Salik gates as well. That helps us a lot in deciding what's happening on these roads, the traffic is coming from where, and it helps us a lot in the planning process that we go through. Plus, we have lots of sensors around the city for traffic lights, for roads, okay, and these sensors, we collect lots of information from these sensors, which helps us in better planning for the future, to build new bridges, to build new roads, to increase the public transport, and so on. So all these data that we collect on a daily basis, they are huge, huge data. And for sure, these data today is helping our planners to better plan. It helps us, our service providers, to better provide improved services and to get the services to the right people and to the right segment of people. So all of that in the big data, if we talk about it, yes, it's really adding value to our customers and to our future of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Shukran. Fadi, if I can turn to you just briefly, because time is against us, but give us an example at the National Bank of Abu Dhabi of how big data is used. I'm sure that as the head of Transformation Architecture Office, you use big data, but you're also part of you work closely with the C-suite, don't you? And I'm wondering, within the organization, you've got a new chief executive, haven't you, on board? To what extent are they using big data to make decisions? To what extent is it evidence-based decision-making as opposed to what one of the speakers referred to earlier, HIPPO, the highest paid person in the organization? Can you give us some insights, just briefly?
Sure. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. I guess our problem is broken down similar to what you heard earlier today. There's the structured data that's coming from within the enterprise, and there's the unstructured data that's coming from outside the enterprise. We're no different than any of you with respect to your organizations. To give you an idea of the volume of the data that we deal with, anywhere from 8 to 10 terabytes of transactional information. We process a nightly batch, about 120 million records or transactions from 11 countries across the world. Over the past 2 years, I would say, as a part of, as the guy in charge of transformation architecture, there's been a big drive towards the behavioral modeling and understanding more of what's the behavior of customers, who's more likely to default on a loan, or who's more likely to need maybe an additional loan based on the transactions that they've been conducting over the past 12 or 24 months. And the C-suite is really focused in our new strategy on the intelligence and basically the predictive modeling of where our customers are going to go, and that all points back to data, looking at obviously the structured information that we have, deriving intelligence out of it. And I'm not going to lie to you, we're just beginning to look at unstructured data from Twitter and Facebook. I'm not going to tell you that we've got it all figured out, I'd be lying. But the reality is, nobody can deny the importance of the market sentiment, given that the GCC, one country in particular, is one of the top users of Twitter around the globe. So anybody that's upset with service will just open up Twitter and just blast somebody. Could be NBAD as well. So we're beginning to look at that data and seeing how we can bring that in and start linking it into the market sentiment and get that on a dashboard to our executives.
Sam Taha at SAP, if I can turn to you. I mean, it strikes me that SAP and organisations like yours have been dealing with big data for decades. It just wasn't called big data then. Has anything actually changed in the past 24, 36 months since big data became this buzzword? Or is it just business as usual for you and business as usual for your clients? Because you've been doing this for years anyway.
Great question, Richard. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Yes, definitely there's been a lot of changes. There's the big volume aspect of big data has been around for a long time. So organizations have been dealing with large volumes of data for a long time. That's nothing new for us. What we've seen in the last, say, 24 months is also the shift towards a lot of new variety of data sources. So not only is it a lot of data that's coming, but also a lot of new sources, such as social media, from mobile devices, etc. The third trend that we're seeing is the velocity that is becoming super fast these days. So from the time that data is produced, a customer interacts with the organization, to the time that it needs to be processed and a decision has to be made, has shrunk to seconds and minutes versus maybe days and weeks in the past. So on the variety of the data, now structured, unstructured, on the speed of the data that needs to be processed in much shorter time. So now businesses, to be competitive, they really need to be able to capture all of this data, process it, and make decisions in real time. And this real-time aspect is where today, where competitiveness comes from. It's not just about having a lot of data and having the luxury of processing it overnight or over a week to have your information or insight. The competitive edge is to be able to do all of that, capture it, store it, manage it, and make decisions in real time.
If I can turn to you, Zubair, you're at Emirates Islamic Bank, Vice President, Head of IT and Business Innovation there. When I saw you on the panel, I was trying to think of a clever question about Sharia compliant big data, but I couldn't think of one. Is there a sense in which the fact that you're an Islamic bank, you're a Sharia compliant institution, does that impact in any way your interaction with big data, or is it just you're another bank, another financial institution, and big data is part of it, but not necessarily to do with the Sharia principles?
Sure, Richard. Good afternoon, everyone. Just the way big data always existed, so has been the underlying issues of keeping that data relevant, because the tools available take you through the analytical, predictive analysis and whatnot kind of a process. But some of the problems that the industry faces is to how to keep the data relevant, clean, updated, and so forth. So we do spend a lot of energy on a regular basis in keeping that in place. Just before I answer your question directly, another element of some of my colleagues were mentioning about how the banks in the region and in the world are moving towards the life cycle management of customer needs. This data and its relevance in terms of real-time application is becoming very important. So having a base of big data is one, and then having the application amplified is another. So there are two kinds of challenges. Coming back to the Sharia part of our business, requires us to keep a close eye on the latest picture snapshot of the customers. That, from a Sharia perspective, in terms of the contracts that we sign with our customers, have to be relevant and refreshed. That is one. The secondly, from a regulatory perspective, banks' dependence on data is critical to our business. So it's a similar situation, but from a Sharia perspective, since the banking is contract-based, from product to product, it's even more data coming in on a transactional basis at a regular pace.